A dim desk lamp flickered in the corner of Detective Ryan Carter's office. The air was thick with the scent of old files and stale coffee. He leaned forward, flipping through a dusty folder labeled Case Number 576, Closed. But something didn't feel right. The pages inside told a different story, one filled with missing names and blacked-out sections. Ryan's heart pounded as he scanned the details. This wasn't just a simple drug bust from 5 years ago. It was a cover-up. His fingers tightened around the paper. Officers had been praised for a so-called successful operation, but in reality, the real criminals had walked free. The names of the arrested were nowhere to be found. The suspects? Completely erased. Ryan exhaled sharply. "They've been playing both sides," he muttered, his voice edged with frustration. His gut told him this wasn't just about a bad case, it was bigger. Someone had buried the truth deep, making sure no one could find it. But they had made a mistake. They had left just enough behind for him to dig deeper. And Ryan Carter wasn't the kind of detective to walk away. "Ryan, look at this." Emily Shaw's voice broke the silence as she leaned over his shoulder, her eyes fixed on a note at the bottom of the file. Ryan followed her gaze, his chest tightening as he read the handwritten signature. Captain James Rourke. Ryan clenched his jaw. Rourke had been a respected name in the department, a man known for taking down crime syndicates. But now, his signature sat at the bottom of a document that reeked of corruption. Emily's voice was steady but laced with anger. This whole case was a setup. Ryan's fingers dug into the edge of the file. "A fake drug bust," he murmured. "A staged victory to make the department look good while the real criminals paid their way out." His stomach twisted as the realization sank in. Good cops had lost everything because of this. Careers destroyed. Reputations ruined. Some officers had even been forced out of the force, labeled as failures, all to keep this dirty secret buried. Emily placed a hand on the file. "This wasn't just about money, Ryan." He looked up, his brow furrowed. "Then what was it about?" She met his gaze. "Control. Power. And the worst part? It's still happening." Ryan exhaled slowly. "Then we stop it." Determination hardened in his eyes. This wasn't just another case anymore. This was personal. The office was silent, except for the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall. Ryan Carter sat at his desk, flipping through the damning evidence. The deeper he dug, the uglier the truth became. Someone powerful had been pulling the strings, and now he was dangerously close to unraveling it all. His phone buzzed. A blocked number. Ryan frowned and opened the message. "Stop digging, or else." His grip tightened around the phone. His gut had told him this case was bigger than it seemed, but this was proof that someone was watching him. Someone who wanted him to stop. Emily Shaw, standing nearby, noticed a shift in his expression. "What is it?" Ryan showed her the message. She read it, then scoffed. "They're scared." Her voice was calm, but there was a fire in her eyes. "That means we're close." Ryan didn't share her confidence, not yet. Threats like this weren't empty. He had seen too many cases where good people got too close to the truth and disappeared. Luke, his loyal German shepherd, suddenly lifted his head from his spot near the door. His ears perked, body tense. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Ryan and Emily exchanged a look. Something, or someone, was outside. Ryan slowly reached for the gun in his desk drawer. He stood, his muscles tight with anticipation. Luke's growl deepened. Emily whispered, "We're not alone, are we?" Ryan shook his head. "No. And I don't think they're here to talk." The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then everything went black. Luke's growl turned into a snarl. Ryan's pulse spiked as he reached for his gun. "Stay close, Luke," he whispered, steadying himself in the darkness. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. A faint creak came from the hallway. Someone was inside. Emily pressed herself against the wall, gripping the evidence file. Ryan held up a hand, signaling her to stay silent. The only sound was the soft hum of the city outside, until the front door creaked open. Then all hell broke loose. Luke lunged first, his body a blur in the darkness. A sharp cry followed as he sank his teeth into the first intruder's arm. Ryan moved fast, raising his gun just as another shadow rushed toward him. A shot rang out. The bullet missed, shattering a lamp instead. Glass rained down, but Ryan didn't stop. He fired again, this time hitting his mark. A second attacker stumbled back with a grunt. The room filled with smoke, tear gas. Ryan coughed, his eyes burning. Damn it. They came prepared. Emily grabbed his arm. We need to get out, now. Luke barked furiously, holding off another attacker as Ryan fought to stay focused. The front door was blocked. There was only one way out. The back exit. Ryan shouted. They moved fast, dodging bullets as they stumbled through the dark. Ryan kicked open the emergency door, pulling Emily through. Luke followed, teeth bared, as they bolted down the alley. Behind them, gunfire continued, but they didn't stop. They had what they needed. Now, they just had to stay alive long enough to expose the truth. Ryan's lungs burned as thick tear gas filled the room. His vision blurred, and a sharp sting clawed at his throat. He coughed violently, struggling to breathe. Luke barked frantically, his instincts kicking in as chaos erupted around them. Emily's voice cut through the haze. We can't stay here. Ryan blinked through the stinging fog, his mind racing. The front exit was blocked, and the attackers weren't going to stop until they were silenced for good. They had no choice. Back door, move. Ryan yelled, grabbing Emily's arm. Luke led the way, weaving through overturned furniture and broken glass. A gunshot cracked through the air, missing Ryan by inches. His heart pounded as he ducked, shielding Emily as they stumbled toward the exit. Ryan kicked open the emergency door. Cold night air rushed in, a sharp contrast to the suffocating gas. But they weren't safe yet. Heavy footsteps followed them. The attackers weren't far behind. Ryan, Emily, and Luke bolted into the dark alley, their shadows stretching under the dim streetlights. Rain slicked the pavement, making every step a gamble. Luke suddenly halted, ears perked. Ryan followed his gaze, headlights. A black SUV screeched to a stop at the alley's entrance. More men. Go. Into the woods. Ryan ordered. Emily didn't hesitate. They sprinted toward the tree line, adrenaline fueling their every step. Luke kept pace, his deep growls the only sound between them. Branches whipped at their faces as they pushed deeper into the woods. The city lights faded behind them, swallowed by darkness. After what felt like an eternity, Ryan spotted the outline of an old, abandoned cabin. He didn't ask questions. They had no other option. Inside. Now. Emily shoved open the creaky door, and they collapsed onto the wooden floor, lungs gasping for air. For now, they were safe. But they all knew it wouldn't last. The old cabin smelled of damp wood and forgotten time. Ryan placed his gun on the rickety table, running a hand through his sweat-soaked hair. Emily spread out the stolen files under the dim lantern light. We need to go through everything. Ryan exhaled. We don't have much time. Luke lay by the door, ears twitching at every rustle outside. He was tense, alert. He knew they weren't alone. Emily flipped through the documents, her fingers shaking. It's all here, payoffs, forged reports, names. She swallowed hard. And Captain Rourke was just the middleman. Ryan leaned in, scanning the papers. His jaw tightened. It goes higher than we thought. Then, Luke growled. Ryan froze. The hair on his arm stood up. A slow, deliberate footstep outside. Then another. Emily's eyes widened. They found us. Ryan grabbed his gun, moving toward the window. His breath hitched as he saw shadows shifting in the trees. Then, crack! A bullet shattered the window, sending glass flying. Emily ducked. Ryan dropped to the ground, heart hammering. Get down, he shouted. Luke snarled, baring his teeth as the front door rattled. The attackers weren't waiting anymore, they were coming in. Ryan fired 2 quick shots toward the window, forcing them to back off. But it was only a matter of time before they stormed inside. Emily clutched the evidence to her chest. We can't let them get this. Ryan's mind raced. Trapped. Outnumbered. No backup. Another bullet tore through the wall. They had one choice. We fight. Luke's growl deepened. Ryan steadied his grip on the gun. Emily nodded, her fear replaced with determination. The cabin door groaned under pressure. Then, with a deafening crash, it burst open. The door exploded inward. Ryan barely had time to react before a masked man charged in, gun raised. Bang! Ryan fired first. The attacker crumpled to the floor. Luke lunged at another, teeth sinking deep into an arm, dragging the man down. A third burst through the broken window, gun aimed at Ryan's chest. Ryan's heart stopped for a split second. Before the attacker could pull the trigger, Luke released his grip and launched at him. Ryan didn't hesitate. He swung his empty gun like a hammer, slamming it against the intruder's head. The man dropped. Emily crouched behind an overturned table, gripping the stolen documents. Her breathing was shaky, but her eyes were fierce. Ryan ducked behind cover, reloading. You need to go, now. Emily hesitated. I can't leave you. Bang! A bullet splintered the wooden table near her head. Ryan turned to her, voice urgent. Emily, listen to me. If they get these files, everything we fought for is gone. You're the only one who can end this. Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded. Where will I go? Ryan thought fast. Senator Reeves' office. Drop the files there, make it public. He's the kingpin. If he falls, the whole operation goes down. Emily clutched the evidence to her chest. I'll see you on the other side. Then she ran. Ryan turned back just as more men rushed in. He gritted his teeth, gripping his gun tighter. Luke stood beside him, growling, ready. Come on, then, Ryan muttered. Let's finish this. Hours later, the headlines broke. Senator Alan Reeves exposed in major corruption scandal. Police stormed his estate. His empire crumbled. His partners in crime, captains, judges, high-ranking officials, were all taken down. Justice had won. But at what cost? Weeks passed. The dust had settled. Ryan sat on his porch, watching Luke chase birds in the morning sun. The old cabin was long gone, reclaimed by nature, just like the past. Emily had done it. She had exposed them all. The city was buzzing with change. But Ryan knew the fight against corruption was never truly over. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling. His ribs still ached from the bruises. His body was tired, but his heart was lighter. Luke trotted over and plopped down beside him, tail wagging. Ryan smiled and scratched behind his ears. Good boy, he whispered. We did it. Luke let out a small huff, as if he understood. Ryan glanced toward the city skyline in the distance. The world kept moving. People would forget. New villains would rise. But for now, justice had been served. And that was enough. Corruption only thrives when people stay silent. Ryan had learned that the hard way. He had seen good officers destroyed, innocent people framed, and powerful men walk free. But he had also seen something else, something stronger. Emily had risked her life to expose the truth. People had stood up. The city had rallied. And the system, flawed as it was, had worked, because good people refused to let the bad ones win. Ryan sat on a park bench, watching kids play. A newspaper lay beside him, Reeves' arrest still making headlines. He thought about the lesson in all of this. Racism. Corruption. Injustice. They only survived when people turned away, too afraid or too comfortable to fight back. But change? Change happened when even one person said enough. Ryan stood, stuffing the newspaper into a trash bin. The fight wasn't over. It never was. But today, the good guys had won. And that was a start.